Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Just Law on IQRA TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, on Just Law we normally discuss an area of law which is of interest to you, our viewers. Secondly, more importantly, Just Law is a live show. So whatever questions that you have on any aspect of English law, please feel free to pick up the phone and give me a ring, and hopefully I will be able to give you some guidance in relation to the questions that you have. On this show, I should be able to cover a wide range of English legal matters. Matters ranging from immigration law, criminal matters, family law matters, personal injury matters. So whatever your questions are, as long as they relate to the law, please feel free to pick up the phone and give me a ring. Now on this show, we get numerous questions on immigration law, which is fantastic. Now, bearing in mind a lot of questions, a lot of interest does relate to immigration law matters. The topic for today is in line with that. And what I want to discuss today in terms of immigration law is when spouses are making an application to come to the United Kingdom, we want to look at one of the key aspects of that application. In particular, we want to look at finances. What does somebody who's applying to come to the United Kingdom, what does their sponsor need to show in terms of finances? So that's what we'll be looking at today. Just a couple of points before we get going. Obviously it's a live show, so if you call in, if you've got very detailed questions, I won't be able to advise you straight away. I'll ask you to leave your number with the control room. Again, if it transpires that I need to look at your documents before I can advise you, then again I'll ask you to leave your number with the control room and I will try and call you back after we've arranged for me to look at your documents. But the vast majority of questions that we receive live on air, I should be able to give you some firm advice, some firm guidance in relation to those questions and queries. Now, as I said, today I want to look at a specific area of immigration law, which is the area which causes the majority of problems, and it's the area where the majority of refusals are related to, which is to do with demonstrating that there is sufficient finances in the way that the Home Office wants for a successful immigration spouse application. So a typical scenario that you find is that obviously the spouse is in the United Kingdom wanting to sponsor their partner from abroad, whether that's Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, wherever it is. And what you typically find is that obviously the parties have got married. That's the easy part. They're in contact. That's not a problem. The issue in the vast majority of cases with spouse applications, when you're sponsoring your husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom, the main issue in the vast majority of cases is income. What is the income requirement? How do you demonstrate that the income requirement is met? What kind of documents do you need to submit? How recent, how old do the documents need to be? There's a whole range of questions relating to finances which need to be addressed. As I said before, the vast majority of problems with spouse applications when you're sponsoring your husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom, the vast majority of problems that arise relate to finances. How do you properly demonstrate in accordance with the rules the financial requirement is met? Now, if we just step back a bit, for those who are old enough to remember and who've had to go through this system before, they remember that previously there was no strict requirement in terms of income in the way that we have. This was prior to 2012. There was a substantial, significant change to the rules in the summer of 2012, introduced by the Conservative government, which resulted in what we have today. Certain key changes were made to the immigration rules, which now are a main feature of the rules relating to spouse applications. One is the level of income that's required to sponsor your husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom. The level of income that's required was significantly increased from what it was before. And we've now had, since the summer of 2012, this 18,600 requirement. Essentially what it means is, in the vast majority of cases, but there are some exceptions, in the vast majority of cases, the sponsor in the United Kingdom needs to demonstrate that he or she is earning £18,600 per annum. That's a very simplified way of putting it forward, but essentially that's the starting point. Prior to these new rules being introduced, there wasn't an income threshold which is so high, but since the summer of 2012, that's what we have had, a requirement that you need to be earning £18,600 per annum. So that's the key change that came in. The other key change that came in relates to the fact that certain documents have to be submitted with the spouse application. So not only do you have to demonstrate an income of 18,600, the manner in which you demonstrate you're earning 18,600 has also changed, so that it's not sufficient to say here's a couple of wage slips, couple of bank statements. The kind of documents you need to submit to demonstrate that you're earning 18,600, there's very specific requirements relating to that. So there are two fundamental things that we now have, and we've had since 2012. One is the income requirement. The other is the type of documents that need to be submitted. So it's not sufficient to have one and not the other. So a lot of times you'll get clients who say, well, you know what, I've just started a job, I've been earning 18,600. That's all well and good, but there are specific requirements in terms of what you need to submit. It may be the last 6 months wage slips, it may be the last 12 months wage slips. So there are two parallel requirements which need to be satisfied: sufficient income and the correct documentary evidence. Now that's what I want to look at in detail today, because as I said at the outset, that's where the vast majority of refusals arise or are connected to. Now before we go into detail in relation to this 18,600 requirement, I should say that there are exceptions to that. Certainly when it relates to somebody who's disabled or looking after somebody who's disabled, there are exemptions from the 18,600 requirement. And let me take the first call for today and we'll return to this topic. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम सलाम इलियास भाई, कैसे हैं? ठीक
जी
है
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ठीक ठाक है, आप कैसे हो? ठीक हो?
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह। अली बोल रहा हूं लुटन से।
जी जी
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि ब्रेक्सिट से मुतल्लिक है, अगर कोई नया यूरोपियन बाशिंदा इधर आता है तो उसके लिए क्या कोई हो सकता है, उसके कोई मुश्किलात हैं या सेम रूल हैं या क्या, इसके मुतल्लिक थोड़ा ब्रीफ कर दीजिए।
अली भाई, अभी तक तो जो ब्रेक्सिट तो हो गया ना 31 को, मगर जो रूल्स अभी जो है वो दिसंबर 2020, सो ये दिसंबर तक वो तो रूल्स तो बिल्कुल सेम ही रहेंगे। सो
अगर दिसंबर तक कोई बंदा आ जाता है इधर तो वो क्वालिफाई करेगा?
हाँ क्वालिफाई करेगा जी। सो देयर इज एब्सोल्युटली नो प्रॉब्लम। कोई यूरोपियन बंदा है, दिसंबर तक उसके पास टाइम है कि वो यहाँ आ जाए, दिसंबर तक।
अच्छा,
फिर
दूसरा ये है कि अगर किसी के पास यूरोपियन लाइसेंस है तो उससे तो कोई फर्क नहीं उसको पड़ेगा?
किसी के पास यूरोपियन
लाइसेंस है, ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस
जी, तो वो यूरोपियन लाइसेंस है तो वो ड्राइव कर सकते हैं। और दिसंबर के बाद भी ये होगा ना कि वो एक्सेप्ट करेंगे कि यूरोपियन कंट्री का लाइसेंस यहाँ चलेगा। जैसे अभी भी सिस्टम है ना कि काफ़ी कंट्रीज़ है जिसके लाइसेंस वो एक्सेप्ट करते हैं। सो एग्जैक्टली मुझको याद नहीं है, पर सर्टन कंट्रीज़ है जहाँ अगर आपने टेस्ट पास किया है तो इट्स एक्सेप्टेड। सर्टन अदर कंट्रीज़ का रूल्स ये है कि वो इट्स लाइक एन इंटरनेशनल ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस, तो उसको सिर्फ 6 मंथ्स के लिए एक्सेप्ट करते हैं, फिर आपको दोबारा ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस बनाना पड़ता है। यूरोप का मोस्ट लाइकली ये होगा कि इल बी एक्सेप्टेड जस्ट एज, क्योंकि ये लोग ये करने वाले हैं ना, दिसंबर में से हम निकल जाएंगे इन टर्म्स ऑफ फ्री मूवमेंट। बंदा वहाँ से यहाँ आता है वो बंद हो जाएगा दिसंबर में, मगर वो रूल्स तो थोड़े से सेम ही रखेंगे ना। जो गुड्स यूके में आते हैं, जो सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करते हैं, ऐसे वो काफ़ी सिमिलर होगा। अभी तक उसने डिसाइड नहीं किया है, मगर वेरी सिमिलर होगा बिल्कुल। वो ये तो बंद नहीं कर देंगे।
ठीक है। और एक छोटा دوسرا سوال اور یہ ہے کہ کیا کہہ رہا تھا میں, اگر کوئی بندہ
جی
مجھے سوال بھی ذہن سے نکل گیا ہے, میں دوبارہ چلو کال کر لوں گا.
جی کوئی بات نہیں ہے.
ذہن سے نکل گیا.
جی جی مین پوائنٹ یہ ہے نا کہ دسمبر تک ٹھیک ہے, سو جو بھی آنے والا ہے اس کو دسمبر تک آ جانا چاہیے, پھر مشکل ہو جائے.
دوسرا یہ مجھے یاد آ گیا کہ میری ڈاٹر لا کا ایکسٹینشن ہے جو ہے نا مئی میں,
جی ٹھیک ہے,
2.5 ایئر کا اس کو ملا تھا, تو ایکسٹینشن ہے. تو اس میں کسی نے بولا تھا کہ, اور میں نے کسی لوئر سے بھی ویسے پوچھا تھا, تو بولا تھا کہ اگر آپ ایک ہی دفعہ B1 اگر وہ کر سکتی ہے تو A1 کی بجائے B1 کر لے, تو وہ پھر اس کو کام آئے گا انڈیفینیٹ کے لیے بھی. تو وہ کر لیا کہ اس میں کوئی گڑبڑ تو نہیں ہوگی.
پہلی بات یہ ہے کہ B1 وہ کر لے گی نا ڈاٹر ان لا, تو یہ ایکسٹینشن کے وقت چل جائے گا نا, بیکاز ایکسٹینشن کے وقت کی A2 کی ریکوائرمنٹ ہے, سو B1 گارنٹیڈ چل جائے گا نا ایکسٹینشن کے وقت. پھر سیکنڈ یہ ہے کہ انڈیفینٹ کے وقت چلے گا, یعنی جو انڈیفینٹ کے وقت ہے نا اس کے رولز کلیئرلی لکھے نہیں ہیں کہ وہ چلے گا یا نہیں. موسٹ لائرس کا کہنا یہ ہے کہ چل جانا چاہیے, ایون دو جب وہ انڈیفینٹ کے لیے اپلائی کرے گی, بائی دیٹ ٹائم وہ سرٹیفکیٹ 2 ایئرس سے زیادہ اولڈ ہوگی نا, اس کا رول ہے نا کہ سرٹیفکیٹ 2 ایئرس سے زیادہ اولڈ نہیں ہونا چاہیے. تو جب انڈیفینٹ کے لیے ہو جائے گا مگر ایسا لگتا ہے رولز, مگر رولز کلیئر نہیں ہے. ایسا لگتا ہے کہ اس میں یہ ہے کہ اس میں لکھا ہے کہ اگر آپ نے کوئی پریویس اپلیکیشن کے لیے سرٹیفکیٹ یوز کی ہے سکسیسفلی, تو ہم وہ سرٹیفکیٹ کو دوبارہ ایکسیپٹ کریں گے, اس میں کوئی ویلیڈیٹی ڈیٹ نہیں ہوگی, ایکسپائری ڈیٹ نہیں ہوگی. ایسا لکھا تو ہے مگر 100%
مجھے بھی کسی سولیسیٹر نے آپ والی سیم یہی رائے دیا کہ ہونا بھی یہی چاہیے, اور ہوگا بھی کہ اگر کوئی یوز ہو جاتا ہے پہلی دفعہ وہ سکسیسفل ہو جاتا ہے تو پھر اس میں کوئی پرابلم نہیں ہونی چاہیے. تو آپ بہتر ہے کہ B1 ہی کر لیں, اگر وہ کر سکتی ہے تو پھر B1 ہی کر لیں.
مگر
وہ کروا لیا ہم نے نا, اس میں کر لیا.
جی مگر اس میں 100% کلیئر نہیں ہے یہ بات اس کی, کیونکہ یہ جو اس میں یہ ہے نا کہ ابھی جو A2 ابھی جو یوز کرتے ہیں جس میں A2 کی ریکوائرمنٹ ہے, تو ٹھیک ہے B1 سرٹیفکیٹ تو چل جائے گی کیونکہ وہ ہائر ہے, مگر اس میں ایشو یہ ہے نا کہ وہ سرٹیفکیٹ آپ نے یوز کی ہے B1 بتانے کے لیے نہیں, A2 بتانے کے لیے, اور اس میں چل گئی تو وہ انڈیفینٹ کے وقت جب B1 بتانا پڑتا ہے تو وہ سرٹیفکیٹ جو 2 سال پرانی ہو گئی وہ ایکسیپٹ کریں گے. یعنی موسٹ لائرس کہتے ہیں کہ ایکسیپٹ کریں گے, مگر کوئی جگہ پہ کلیئرلی تو لکھا نہیں ہے کہ ایکسیپٹ کریں گے.
آپ کے کوئی ایکسپیرینس میں ہے کوئی ایسا
مجھ کو
کلائنٹ نے یوز کیا ہو؟
میں نے سچ بتاؤں نا, میں سب کو کہتا ہوں کہ رسک نہ لو, 150
چلو جس نے ابھی کر رہے وہ پھر بھی کر لے گی, وہ تو کوئی مسئلہ نہیں
ہے. اس لیے میں رسک نہ لو, مگر آئی تھنک پرسنلی مجھ کو لگتا ہے چل جانا چاہیے. میں پرسنل جزاک اللہ آپ کا کال کے لیے, تھینک یو ویری مچ, تھینک یو. ول ٹیک آور نیکسٹ کال. ہلو السلام علیکم. ہلو
السلام alaikum.
جی وعلیکم السلام. جی بھائی, what's your question?
Brother Ilyas, I have 2 quick questions for you.
Sure. Yep.
I'm applying for a spouse visa extension application very soon, sometime in October.
October, right? Okay.
So my question is, first question is it okay to have a temporary job at that time, or does it have to be a permanent job?
No, temporary job is absolutely fine.
Fine.
No, the only issue is this. You know that temporary job, it's how long you've held that temporary job which is relevant. So in terms of the actual job, it may be temporary, it may be fixed term. The rules aren't concerned with the status of that job, temporary, permanent, fixed term. But what is significant in terms of how you meet the requirement is how long that job has been held for.
Okay.
So if I just give you an example, if you've held it for 6 months, it's fine. You show your 6 months of wage slips. If you've held it for 3 months, 4 months, under 6 months, then you have to show your income over the last 12 months. So you need to meet the requirement over the last 12 months. So which is, so the significant, the important thing is how long have you held that job, not the nature of that job.
Okay. Let's suppose that, at the time of... Hello?
Sorry, you broke up a bit. You were just going to give me an example. Sorry, go on. Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to give you an example. I suppose at the time of application, the 12 months before your application, let's suppose you've had 2 or 3 temporary jobs.
I understand. Yeah. Okay.
Will that still be okay? Then,
Absolutely fine. So let's take this example. So in this scenario, the last job, how long would you have held that job for? So if it's 6 months, we've got nothing to worry about because we simply rely on that job. It becomes slightly more complicated where it's been less than 6 months. So let's say the jobs have been held for 3 months. So then what you've got to do is 2 things. One is you need to look at the income for that job that you've held for 3 months. It's got to be equivalent to an annual salary of 18,600 per annum. So you'll know straight away what you earn. So let's say the job's £20,000 a year. So the first requirement is met. The second requirement is because you've held it for less than 6 months, you're also going to show your income, total money received in 12 months. You'd be counting all your jobs. Now there may be 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, but you need to count it. Now the problem occurs where there's been gaps, and because there's been gaps, you haven't earned enough money. The gaps in itself isn't the problem. It's when you've got gaps, when you add your last 12 months up, you may not hit the 18,600 requirement because you're meeting it in 2 ways. Ne? Currently, you must earn 18,600. And when you've added all your different types of employment in the last 12 months, you must also have received a total income of 18,600. So that's a scenario with temporary jobs or jobs which have been held for less than 6 months.
Yeah.
Does that?
So even if there's a gap of say 1 month or 2 months,
not a
as
problem.
long as the total earning for the whole year, 12 months, should be more than
100%
£18,600.
100% fine. So the gaps is never the problem. It's adding everything up. And then you got to remember, with every job, you have to submit 3 pieces of evidence: your wage slips, your bank statements showing receipt of that money, and an employment letter. So you might have to go back to an old employer and say, "Can I have a letter confirming that I was employed by you?" Which sometimes causes a slight practical problem, but the problem is it's got to be done, unfortunately. Okay. Thank you very much for your call. I'll take the next call.
जी
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम
जी वालेकुम सलाम जी
अच्छा मेरे पास एक क्वेश्चन था आपके लिए
जी
As a full-time working mother,
Okay.
if I want to call somebody from abroad,
Okay.
like Pakistan, as a au pair,
Okay. So
What do they
on what
require?
basis would you be calling somebody over? As in, what would they come in as?
just for the job,
Okay.
employing them.
So you'd be employing them.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of?
Say if I need somebody to look after my children because
I
I do
understand.
night shifts most
I
of the
understand.
time,
I understand.
and I want somebody
To help you with
who's
that.
got same background as
Gee,
I
understand.
have,
Yeah, I understand.
so
Now
that my children can learn something from them as well.
I understand. The problem is that the immigration rules, immigration categories, there's no category which covers that scenario. So they wouldn't be able to come to work for you here in the UK. So to help you look after the children, they wouldn't be able to come to do that because the immigration rules, they don't have a category which caters for that. The only thing that they would be able to do is come, if they get the visa, come as a visitor to the UK. And if they're family members, for example, they may help you with looking after your children. But that would simply be as a visitor to come to the UK.
Okay.
Now, what you asked specifically was, can I sponsor somebody to come to the UK? I would offer them a job and they would be helping me look after my children. In answer to that question, specific answer to that is, you can't get that kind of visa because that immigration category doesn't exist at all.
So कोई au pair visa नहीं
नहीं
issue
बिल्कुल
करते हैं?
बिल्कुल नहीं है. पहले एक सिस्टम था डोमेस्टिक वर्कर, मगर उसका भी बहुत डिफरेंट रूल्स थे सेटिस्फाई करने के लिए, और वो भी अभी बंद कर दिया है उसने अमेंड कर लिया है. सो बिल्कुल वो कैटेगरी नहीं है. सो विजिट वीज़ा जैसे है ना कि कोई विजिट पे आ सकता है, जो स्टूडेंट पे आ सकता है, कोई बड़ा बिजनेस के लिए काम करने के लिए आ सकता है, बिजनेस खोलने के लिए आ सकता है, ये सब के लिए वो इमिग्रेशन रूल्स होते हैं कि हाँ ये रूल में अप्लाई करते हैं, ये रूल में एप्लीकेशन डालेंगे, इमिग्रेशन कैटेगरीज होती है. आपने जो बात की ना उसकी तो बिल्कुल कैटेगरी ही नहीं है.
नहीं है. Because I remember there used to be au pair,
domestic
international
worker.
au pairs before.
There used to be, yeah. There used to be domestic worker category. Then for Europeans, certain Europeans, there used to be an au pair category where certain Europeans I think it used to be on those days, it might have been Bulgarians, some of those countries which weren't part
Turkish,
of...
I think.
Turkish. Yeah, so yeah, Turkey as well. So there were certain countries where they could come as an au pair. I don't think that's possible now. That's not possible either. But certainly from...
If I call them as a visitor and can I put in the application that they would be helping me and I would be paying them towards it, or no?
The thing is, they could only come to help you as in on a voluntary basis. No, because one of the requirements of a visit visa, one of the conditions is that you can't take up paid employment. There are some exceptions.
So once they have a visit visa, could I apply for the extension while they're here? I'm really genuinely looking for somebody to look after my children.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. You see, it's a lot of people ask this question. A lot of people want. Certainly, they think it's better. Okay, maybe somebody from back home, they might know, somebody from within the extended family. They come over here, help your family here, but it's not possible at all. At all, there's just no possibility.
I've got you now. Yeah.
So what do people do? If it's family, they might just say, okay, they come in for a visit visa. They're not allowed to take a paid employment, but there's nothing that stops them from helping you whilst they're here. But it's not ideal. It doesn't give you what you want, but that's the closest category to what you want to achieve, or that's the only way that you might be able to achieve what you want to achieve.
Is it easy enough for the young girls to apply for the visit visa?
Difficult. I mean, that's a problem in itself. What they're looking at really is this person who's come in, what do they do back in their home country? So if they're, for example, if they're employed, if they've got a decent income, money going into their bank regularly, they might stand a chance. But otherwise, a young girl, young lady who isn't working, lives with parents, would be very difficult for that person to get a visit visa. Because what's happened now with visit visas is that they really just simply look at the person who's applying. They just look at their financial circumstances. It seems to be now just focus on their financial circumstances. If you've got good financial circumstances, or if your financial circumstances are good, you're likely to get a visa. If they're not very good, you're not going to get a visa. That's what it seems to be in practice. So it's difficult.
And how about student visa?
Student visa is possible, but it's expensive. For genuine students, absolutely, you can get student visas, not a problem. Typical university fees per year would be in the region of at least about £13,000. But no, that visa...
Is it not changed from this year? Have they not dropped it down?
No, university fees are expensive. If you check with universities, if you check with their international office, it is in the region of about £13,000–14,000. But it is, for genuine students, absolutely, you can get a student visa, not a problem, but it's expensive.
Okay. All right then. Thank you
very much for your call. Thank you very much indeed. No problem at all. So just on that point, I mean, we get a lot of questions on visit visas, and we will address that in the coming shows, but visitor visas has become extremely difficult to get at the moment. Now, in my experience, the percentage refusal rate is probably in the region of 60–70% of visitor visas currently being refused, but we'll address that in our coming shows. We're going to be taking a short break. When we're back, we'll come back to our topic for today and really focus on spouse applications and how the income requirement can be met. Should be back in the next couple of minutes.